I'm joined from Brussels by Vit Novotny. He is a senior research officer at the Wilfried Martens Centre for European Studies and a former candidate for the Czech Parliament. Vit, thank you very much indeed for joining us on The Newsmaker. So Babish is accused of personally taking €2 million in EU subsidies, which were meant for small businesses. People are on the streets. They want him to step down. But where's the presumption of innocence while the case against Babish continues?
Of course, I'm glad to be on this program. Thank you very much for inviting me. Of course, Babish is no normal, ordinary person. He's one of the highest politicians in the country. So the presumption of innocence does not apply in his case. He's been connected to financial fraud. And this is a serious matter for Czech politics.
What is his base? Who are the people who are still supporting him?
It's a mixture of voters who formally adhere to other parties, namely the Social Democrats, but to some extent also the center-right Eurosceptic Civic Democrats and other parties.
He says he won't resign, but there looks as if later in the week there's going to be a motion of no confidence in him in Parliament. There'll be a vote. Presumably, with this declaration that he won't resign, he's challenging Parliament to go through with that vote, but he must have done the mathematics that he can win. Do you think he can?
I think he can. The mathematics at the moment looks pretty much like he will remain Prime Minister, because the majority in the lower chamber just isn't there to depose him.
Are the calls for him to step down as much about his 11 months as Prime Minister as they are about this case? Because as we say, the case continues. He hasn't been found guilty of anything yet. But is his record as Prime Minister another reason that people are on the streets saying you must resign?
I personally don't think so. I think this is really connected to the personality of Mr. Babish as opposed to his record as a politician. The protests are related to his financial dealings, to his alleged past as an agent for the communist police, and also his dominant position on the Czech media market. He owns the country's two largest dailies. He's bought radio stations, television stations, and other media. And so the concern is more over his suitability to serve as Prime Minister, as opposed to his record as a Prime Minister and previously as Finance Minister in the previous government.
The way you describe him, Vit, he sounds like a Czech Silvio Berlusconi. Is that anywhere near the mark?
It's near the mark, in my opinion. He cuts a similar figure to Berlusconi, and indeed there are a number of parallels between Czech and Italian politics. He's a self-made man, like Berlusconi. He's an eclectic ideologue who doesn't like political programs, like Berlusconi. And indeed, he is using his base in the media to try to dominate the country's politics.
What is the good and bad in terms of what he's achieved since he became Prime Minister, his main achievements, and what do his opponents say are his main failings?
To some extent, in a paradoxical manner, he has restored trust in, and this sounds strange, but he has restored trust in politics in the sense that he's somebody who many people can relate to. He speaks people's language. He doesn't use the smooth, polished talk that other politicians use. He prefers handing out donuts to people as opposed to writing political programs. So in that sense, he's somebody who relates to people on the human level, so to speak. He's done some good things, such as improving tax collection, and he is competent in some manner. which is something that people would not say about some of his predecessors.
This claim from his son, Andrej Babis Jr., that his father wanted him out of the way of the criminal inquiry, and that the son says he was given a choice. You can take an extended holiday or I'll lock you up in a mental home. How credible is the son?
We simply don't know. His son is somebody who almost everybody says suffers from schizophrenia. And if that's true, then indeed it will be doubtful whether he is a credible witness, although I'm not trying to say that somebody with schizophrenia always lies. This just simply has to be assessed, and we don't have that objective assessment at all. There are just speculations around there, around the son and around the son's movement, whether he has been taken to Crimea and then Ukraine against his will or with his consent. These things are contested, we don't know.
How do you think this is going to resolve itself? Let's say he wins the no confidence motion in Parliament. Will it continue? Is there some kind of resolution to this? Will he just ride it out and people will forget about it?
The way it looks today, he may ride it out, providing his coalition partners continue supporting him. The big question is over the stance of one of the junior coalition partners, the Social Democrats. They are currently debating internally about their next steps. But they are aware that if they vote, if they leave the government and then vote against Mr. Babish, they might be replaced by the far-right SPD party, which is a xenophobic formation on the Czech political scene, which currently sits in the opposition. So this even a vote of non-confidence might result in Mr. Babiš staying in power, or simply exchanging one coalition partner for another.
And then we'll wait to see what the case against him finds, guilty or not guilty. Let me put a general question to you, Vit. The Czech Republic has been independent in its current form as the Czech Republic since the dissolution of Czechoslovakia since 1993. Andrej Babis is the 12th Prime Minister in those short years. Take away Václav Klaus, who became Prime Minister just before independence. The average lifespan of a Prime Minister in the Czech Republic is 700 days. Does that mean that there's something wrong with Czech politics?
Yes, it's a very short time span. We could debate for a long time for what the reasons are for this, but I can certainly confirm that over the past 15 years, the Czech governments have been very unstable, and this has been given by the volatility which reflects itself in the composition of the lower chamber. In addition, I feel Czech political parties are not well rooted in society, and their voter base is often unstable and floating, and they often don't have a strong foundation to refer to, and this creates a behavior among political elites which is often self-serving, and often they are perceived correctly in many cases as small cliques which are not able to govern for the wider good.
Vit Novotny, thank you for joining us on the Newsmakers.